Hello and welcome, Adam Thomas from Bouncing Touch Reflexology. So good to see you and thanks for joining me today. I want to talk about technique because I've been getting lots of questions about it. So I'm going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into a technique that we're already familiar with, but I'm going to break it down into different phases and you can use them for different things. So for this video, I kind of went back to my course notes and checked out some stuff, and it was really interesting how my instructor had broken down the technique of the walking technique, right? And in it is some really cool information, and it's broken down into two phases. And one is a passive phase, kind of looks like this, and then one is an active phase, which is this, right? So we're all familiar with this walking technique, right? And of course it takes years and years to master it, but there's two phases to it, and they can be used as their own techniques on its own. Phase one is the passive phase, which is you find the reflex point, and with nice, firm, comfortable pressure, you kind of just wait there, right? You're still, you're quiet, right? And so this phase here is, it's kind of a restful state. It's a sedating state, okay? So sedating is the key word here. So this technique on its own can be used for any points that are really painful that you come across, right? So that's that sort of thing. And then we have the active phase, which is you get in there, you find where you're going to be working, and then you actually go for the hook, right? Or activate your technique, right? And so this is more energizing. This is more like, this may even cause sensitivity because you're working and being active on it. And this is more of, the key word here is tonifying, right? So we're tonifying the reflex area, right? We're wanting to stimulate it. We're wanting to, kind of make it active and do that sort of thing, right? So phase one, we have more of a sedating, the passive phase, right? Where we get in there. So it's not like we just put our thumb or our fingers, right? So these can be used on our fingers or thumbs as well. But we don't really just, kind of just put our finger there and it's hardly like a feather touch type of thing. No, it's actually a really comfortable, firm pressure. And we're feeling for the exact point that we need to work on, right? And so that's your sedating right there. So if we found, for example, that this point is quite sensitive, what we can do is we can use this technique without going into the active state and using and applying a nice firm pressure, comfortable firm pressure, and actually even holding on to it for like even 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes even, right? Just holding in this area, especially if it's a point that's very, very sensitive, right? And so this is another way to work with sensitive points, right? I mentioned in another video, I think a couple of years ago I did, you would find a point and you'd work around it, or you would continue your reflexology session and then come back and see if it's changed and things like that. So what you can also do is add in this sedating technique, right? So there we go. We hold it nice and comfortable. Have your client breathe, make sure they're sort of, relaxing into it, right? So just bringing stillness, bringing calmness, bringing comfortable relaxation to this point is what our focus is on, right? So we tend to focus a lot on the active phase, right? Which is, we're getting there and find it, and then we're like ging, 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 then move on to the next thing and sort of move through the session that way. But I think if you break down this technique into thinking about two different phrases, then you have one technique, but it has two ways of using the same technique, right? And you can find a lot of benefit from doing this way, right? So I was reading through my notes and I came across this and I thought, oh, that's really cool to break it down into two different phases, right? And so I wanted to share that with you. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes sense. So again, the passive phase, you can use it on its own to alleviate any pain, any acute sort of, pain, any sensitive, even ticklish areas, right? Make sure that you have a nice firm pressure and just hold it there until you can feel the clients relax, right? You can, feel from your hand to their, from your thumb or your finger, whatever technique you're using, feel from their foot that the body actually kind of lets go, kind of breathes, right? Kind of just relaxes. Or you can see it around their eyes, or you can see it in their breathing, that there's sort of a shift that happens. And so by holding a point for a little bit longer, if it's a sensitive, even ticklish, uncomfortable point, is going to be a huge benefit. And then, possibly moving into the active phase where you're actually getting in there and really hooking and activating that point might be a possibility. But just know that you can use this passive phase without going into the active and having the client feel uncomfortable, right? So you can go and you're going along and you're doing your technique and you go ouch and you find the ouchy part. Well, then you can kind of go, okay, well, you can come back to it later and do the passive technique, or you can, stop right then and there and just work on the passive phase, sedating that point, and then move on with your reflexology, right? So it's another way to work with a technique that we already have. So I just thought it would be interesting to share that with you. So hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching today, and remember to keep those feet happy. Bye-bye. If you're interested in learning more about reflexology, you could subscribe to the channel below. It's also very helpful to hit that like button, and feel free to share it with anybody who you think might be interested in it. You can find my online courses, Reflexology Charts, and other reflexology goodies over on my website, which is balancingtouch.ca. Thank you so much for watching today, and if you have some more time, you can check out some other videos. Till next time, this is Adam Thomas from balancingtouch.ca. See you later.